So, Stu, how excited are you that the animal made famous by Game of Thrones that went extinct 13,000 years ago is among us now?
You know, they said Trump was the greatest comeback story. And now we have the direwolf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do we have any of the video of the direwolf? Here's the direwolves. They're little babies.
Aww.
Aren't they cute?
Oh, my gosh, I want one.
Yeah, no, you don't.
No, I want one.
No, you really
Look how
don't.
cute they are. Oh, my gosh, I want one.
Oh, they're so cute, aren't they?
And they're a little loud. Forget it. I'm bringing it back to the pound.
You want to get up in the middle of the night and hear, oh, whoa. No. So they retrieved the DNA from fossils of direwolves 13,000 years ago. They were over. Then they discovered additional DNA, and they edited 20 genes of gray wolves and then put the direwolf in the gray wolf, and we now have the new and improved direwolf, which I'm not sure this is a good idea. You know, when it comes to AI, when it comes to all of that, has anyone watched a movie? Has anyone watched a movie? This was all science fiction, dystopia stuff. It's now here. So as I'm going perusing this, because remember, the next thing is woolly mammoth. And we had the CEO on the program, remember? And I said, why are you thinking about bringing the woolly mammoth back? He said, it'd be good for the environment. What? Yeah, it'd be good for the environment. How is a woolly, do they not fart and do they eat cows? How is that? He didn't really have a good answer on that, but it'll make a lot of people on the left feel good. Oh, it's good for the environment, so we'll bring the woolly mammoth back. And look they're so furry and stuff, they'll make great throw rugs in the end. So the next step is to bring back the woolly mammoth. Okay, again, you know, if you believe in Darwin, you believe in survival of the fittest. There's a reason these animals went extinct. One of the reasons, I think, for like these large, dangerous animals is so we could live. You know, there was a lot of, oh my God, going on. You know what I mean? I just want to make that clear. Maybe we've forgotten about that, but that's what those animals were doing to humans. But we'll put them on a special island, and then we'll be fine. So now we have the direwolf, which is truly wonderful. And as I get into this, I see who some of the investors are. And one of the investors that is really excited about just pouring money into the Colossal Bioscience is the CIA. I'm giving you a chance to process that for a second. First of all, CIA, they've got a budget to invest in companies. Sounds like a bad idea.
It shouldn't really be part of what the CIA does.
Well,
it's not a hedge fund, right?
They're not just investing; they have good reason to invest. Okay. So if you're looking to do what the CIA does, this might be a very good application for them. Here's why gene editing is catching the eye of the... Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's a dual-use technology. Gene editing tools like CRISPR are inherently dual-use, meaning they can serve civilian purposes, conservation, biotech breakthroughs, and military intelligence ones. So, okay, I'm trying to... Woolly mammoths. Why would you want to bring a woolly mammoth? Well, one of them is they believe that they could CRISPR their way into bioengineering resilient organisms, you know, like spy drones that are animals. I don't know. enhancing human capabilities. Maybe we can Mengele our way into gene splicing a little of the direwolf into all of us so we'll be a little stronger.
I feel like just on its surface, we shouldn't Mengele our way into anything.
You don't think so?
I think that's always a bad choice.
All right, I always thought
always the wrong one.
Yeah, always. I thought so,
There's
too.
lots of college campuses right now where they're saying the opposite, I've noticed, in protest. But I'm going to go with no on the Mengele into anything.
Try this one out for size. Another reason why the CIA may be interested in the new, hey, let's bring animals back from the dead. Ecological and geopolitical leverage. De-extinction. Great word, huh? New. De-extinction could reshape ecosystems intentionally or not. Imagine reintroducing a species to destabilize a rival nation's agriculture or environment. Say, flooding a region with engineered pests or altering food chains. You know, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this is a good idea. If you weren't convinced the CIA is out of control, you might want to share this with your friends. Biosecurity and threat assessment. Reason number 3. If adversaries develop gene editing for hostile purposes, in other words, a weaponized pathogen or super soldiers, the CIA needs to stay ahead. Investing in Colossal gives them a front row seat to cutting-edge biotech, letting them study its limits and vulnerabilities. They're not just funding it, they're learning how to defend against it or wield it themselves if necessary. Now, this comes from a story out of China, where China is re-engineering people, trying to make them smarter. I mean, come on, guys. Chinese are they're better at instruments, they're better at math, they're better at really almost everything.
This is interesting research, though. It's an interesting approach. You almost have to come up with a name for it, like a gain of function research. Would that be something that would maybe...
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. What a great idea. Gain of function.
That would work perfectly.
Oh, my gosh.
What could go wrong?
Okay. Now, reason number 4, synthetic biology for covert ops. Picture a bioengineered animal, say a direwolf, with tweaked senses used for surveillance or tracking in remote areas where drones might fail.
We are screwed.
Uh-huh.
We are screwed.
Uh-huh. Number 5, future-proofing influence. Biotech is poised to explode economically. Think lab-grown meat. I don't want to think about lab-grown meat. Gene therapies or climate fixes. I don't think we should be doing stuff. You know, can we really stop? We really should stop. We're creating God in AI. We're now thinking we can bring things back from the dead. I believe those 2 things were the story of Frankenstein. I want to throw that in there. Okay. We can bring things back from the dead. You know what we can do? We can bioengineer so things could live forever, and it'll be smarter, and of course it will always stay under our control. Oh my gosh. By backing Colossal, the CIA, via IQT, gets a stake in a field that could rival big tech in influence. If de-extinction tech scales, it might affect food security, land use, or even cultural narratives. Okay. So there's your update on how the world will end today. That's one of the most disturbing things I've read in a long time. I mean, you know, I'm just trying to get my arms around AI and how we can use AI for a very short period of time before it's turned against us and it eats us all. Well, we might, the direwolf might eat us first, but I'm just getting my arms around that. I don't think we needed to introduce this one too. And the fact that the CIA is involved. Not good.
Yeah, but we can release a bunch of animals in places where drones won't be effective with their special senses.
Where on Earth? Where on Earth would a drone not be effective?
Well, a tunnel. Right? Like think of the Hamas tunnels. If we could release some dire wolves down there, probably more effective than our drones. But still, that doesn't make it
we could go
to be
over
a good idea.
I think we could go over to really nasty parts of like the Czech Republic and get dogs that have just been, they're breeding them to tear people apart and throw them in the tunnels. I don't think we need to go back.
Yeah, but they don't have the special senses. They don't have laser eyes.
No, you're right. They don't.
You need to have wolves with laser eyes. What could go wrong with those? They're probably great pets. The problem with this is, I feel like the Industrial Revolution gave us a lot of these types of things where you'd say, like, for example, we developed cars. And we could have had the same conversation, Model T's rolling off the assembly line, and we're like, hey, people are just going to keep making these things faster and faster and faster. And they're going to get to the point where they're going 200-300 miles an hour. And that happened, right? Mm-hmm. It's happened. Mm-hmm. But there was never a point where they're going so fast that the entire world ends. Right? Like that with AI, with gene splicing, with biological warfare, nuclear warfare. We keep having these conversations of eventually some bad actor is going to take this to some logical extreme and we're all screwed.
What are the chances? There are no bad actors in the world. Can you name 1,000?
1.2 billion, 2.4 billion.
I mean, besides everyone that is, when somebody writes a prescription and gives you advice as a doctor, I don't think they need a pardon so they can never go to jail. You know what I mean? When Fauci's just writing a prescription, he's like, look, you should wear a mask. You should wear a mask and take this. That's doctor's advice. I don't think that you need a pardon. What he was doing was so corrupt that he needed a presidential pardon. I don't know. Those are the kind of doctors that maybe we should put in jail. Maybe it's just me. How do we get to this place? How do we get out? It's going to be interesting to see how this all works out.
It will.
How do we get out of this place where we just seem hell-bent on our own destruction?
And I just, with all of these things, I just don't see how. I mean, like our response with nuclear weapons and biological weapons was to just try to limit them as much as possible, right? To go out and every time we heard, hey, Bob over in Iran might be doing may have nuclear weapons. Let's go over there and stop them. That's kind of been our approach, and it's worked so far. But eventually, it probably won't. And with AI, our response is, let's just keep pushing it as fast as possible with a bunch of different really smart companies competing along with governments that are doing the same thing.
Well, we did that's unfair a little bit.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. So you have to remember that we didn't control things until after we used the bomb. Everyone was rushing towards it, and we didn't know. I mean, there were, 10% of scientists that said, if we do this, it could cause a chain reaction that could set the entire world on fire.
I remember that from the documentary Oppenheimer.
Okay. All right. So, not really. Anyway, so
close.
We had no idea what we were doing. We just knew we had to get there first. So afterwards, this is where it becomes fair. Afterwards, we could ban it. We could control it. It took extraordinary amounts of money to do. It took certain equipment that we could just ban. You can't do that, okay? And it was only nation levels that could actually create one. The average person couldn't create. Even if you had all the knowledge in the world, you couldn't create a nuclear weapon in your basement, right? You'd need access to certain things that could be banned. When it comes to AI, that's not true. That's not true. AI, you're going to have to ban so much. And if somebody is using a nuclear weapon on their own people, you know it. You know what I mean? You know it. If somebody's using AI against their own people, you'll never know it. I mean, that's the kind of things that we're dealing with now, where it is so insidious that it can fall into the hand of one person. And it can design a weapon that they can make themselves that will kill half the people on the planet. And you didn't even see it coming. You didn't even know. You didn't even know. you could have the government ban it, but they're using it on you, and you'd never know. That's the real problem, I think, with AI. And the fact that you can no longer put it back in the bottle. It's going to happen. We're all racing to get there. But there is no way to put this back into the bottle. There's no way to control this like there was with nukes. And honestly, that's why Silicon Valley went to Trump. You know this, right? They were having a meeting. Remember when Kamala Harris was like, AI, it's great. It's a fun 2 letters. It's actually 2 words. Artificial intelligence. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So insulting. That was the meeting that she had with all of the bigwigs in Silicon Valley. And they said at that meeting, don't spend any more money on server farms or anything else. We're taking care of it. This will all be controlled by the United States government because it's too big to let anyone else have it except for the United States government. They all walked out and went, we can't let the government have this. We're going to let the government be the only one that has this? That's not good. That's why they flipped to Trump, because they realized this cannot just be in the hands of the government. But I'd be the one in the room going, I don't think any of you guys should have this in your hands. Nobody should have access. What you're building is an anti-God.